Well, let's take a look at free speech at another university, La Trobe in Victoria. Tonight, the psychologist and commentator Bettina Arndt was to have spoken at the university's Liberal Club on what she says is the myth of a rape crisis on university campuses. Now, La Trobe University initially denied the club a room for the event, which will be attended by about 100 people, free speech. The university then changed its mind, telling organisers the event could go ahead, provided they footed the bill for any extra security that was needed. Free speech. Then the university changed its mind again, saying it would pay for the extra security. Why? Well, out of a desire to protect free speech and the discussions on campus. A spokesman said, "We welcome free speech and the event will go ahead." It seems to me that when it comes to this debate, there is free speech for those on the left. There's no free speech for those who aren't on the left. Universities don't have a problem with a lecturer calling the late Bill Leak vile and saying, "May he not rest in peace." But they do have a problem when anyone expresses a view that might run contrary to what the left thinks or what the left thinks we should think. And that's why, I guess, posters have appeared around the campus urging students, have a look at these, to protest against the conservative bigot Bettina Arndt. Look at them. Unbelievable. Such has been the pressure that tonight's talk has had to be postponed. Bettina joins us here in the studio. Bettina, thank you for your time. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, well, it's been very interesting. I mean, it was pretty predictable. There's been activists on universities across Australia promoting this rape crisis for many years now. And even though they got the Human Rights Commission to do a survey, which was supposed to provide evidence for this rape crisis, the survey came up with nothing. That came up with 0.8% of women claimed to have had some sort of sexual assault. That wasn't just what most of us would think of as rape. It included, you know, a stranger bumping into you on a train on the way to campus. It didn't necessarily involve other students. Or the broadest possible definition, 40% of the students said they didn't report it to anyone because it wasn't serious enough. Clearly they weren't talking about what we think of as rape. And what happened is the Human Rights Commission came up with this data. Every university in Australia went on to promote the idea of a crisis on our campus and went on to institute 24-hour helplines for rape victims, sexual consent courses across all the campuses. And the universities are absolutely culpable in lying about the safety of girls on university.
Your research is, just put those things up, those posters up again. This is disgraceful. This woman, for just being a thorough, and everyone who knows Bettina Arndt knows that she's that's at Sydney University. Look at this, that because she's a thorough, an academic researcher, I've known Bettina Arndt for years, meticulous about detail, she's got to cop this stuff. A racist bigot, because, Bettina, what you're saying isn't consistent with what the university is telling the world about sexual violence on campus.
Which is just extraordinary. I mean, why are they scaring off overseas students from coming to this country, from sending their daughters to this country? I've got the New South Wales Bureau of Crime Statistics to compare the safety of girls on campuses to the rest of the community, and they're 100 times safer on campuses than they are in other places. The research is really clearly there, showing we should be celebrating our safe campuses. So why are our universities kowtowing to this noisy minority group of feminists who are determined to paint this picture of, you know, campuses crawling with rapists?
Why, Peter, I just don't understand. Just put those things up again and leave them there for a minute, will you? I don't understand. Like, if I was the Prime Minister or the Premier or someone, the whole world knows Bettina Arndt. She's very thorough, very precise, very fastidious about her research. And here's a significant and distinguished Australian woman being accused of sexism and bigotry. Wouldn't the Federal Minister for Education or someone who are funding these outfits saying, well, you can run those posters and carry on like that, but I'm sorry, not with taxpayers' money, so until you tidy your act up, there'll be no more dough from us?
Or the Minister for Women, who, when you carry on about false statistics, when you create a climate of fear, you do damage to the genuine cases where women and young girls have been raped walking home from school, for instance, or attacked on public transport. You want a proper government response to those incidents. You don't want fear-mongering. And I agree with you, Bettina. I spend a lot of time on university campuses. I've always found they're over-serviced in the safety area. There's plenty of lighting, there's plenty of CCTV. It's out in the real world that's a bit tougher.
Yeah, the University of Sydney, Spence says, University of Sydney is a place where ideas can be freely discussed. Is that your understanding? Well,
what's going to be interesting is I'm speaking at Sydney University in September. I'm actually going to go back to Latrobe in the first week, and in the second week I'm speaking at Sydney. So let's see what Spence does about that. I mean, Spence has been out there promoting the rape crisis. He was involved in promoting a movie called The Hunting Ground, which was a propaganda movie suggesting that universities are unsafe. And so I'll be very interested to see how he reacts to me speaking on his campus.
That'll be September 11, by the way, Bettina, the Sydney University Liberal Club, and the topic will be, is there a rape crisis on campuses? But just coming back to Spence, he says, our highly trained academic staff play a critical role in teaching the skills needed to disagree with the next generation. This skill is even more critical given the increasingly polarising position-taking that's come to characterise public debate. Rather than shutting down debate, we actively encourage our staff to engage with the most difficult cultural conversations. But this bloke has been part of the propaganda of an untruth.
Absolutely, and I'm hearing from academics across Australia who are really worried about, I mean, not just this issue, the closing down of debate on a whole range of issues on campus. This is just a classic one, and they don't dare speak out. I mean, here are these administrators at La Trobe who made this decision, this arbitrary decision to cancel my talk. And then I had to negotiate with them and say, well, what's the reason for that? They said my talk didn't align with the values of the university. What the values of the university are promoting, a falsehood about the university's safety. And that's what's extraordinary. It's a sort of Orwellian conspiracy here.
It is a conspiracy. I mean, this woman, Dr. Fiona Martin, says of the great Bill Leak, may he rest not in peace. So that's okay. That's fine to say that. Well, I think it is most probably fine to say it because you really think she's a lunatic and you dismiss her. Yeah. So I'm all for letting people say that sort of rubbish, quite frankly, and then, you know, you can stand up in the public place and disagree. But it does appear as though free speech means you're free to say what the left articulate and what they allow you to say.
Yeah, I don't mind idiots speaking their mind.
No,
because my father always said, you know, keep quiet, let them think you're stupid, speak up and prove it. Let them speak. But the problem is that the voice or the microphone is only going to the left. There's no counterbalance at all.
Bettina, just as a researcher, forgetting what you're talking about here, Bettina's at the Sydney University Liberal Club, by the way, on the 11th of September. Is there a rape crisis? Just an overview from your analysis of the social situation today in society with free speech and legislation, with all these cases and so on. We're going down a serious path, aren't we?
Oh, we are. And a whole range of issues I write and talk about. I mean, domestic violence is a classic one where the bureaucrats, the politicians, everyone's denying. 40 years of research showing most family violence involves women as well as men. I mean, I'm not denying the problem of violent men, and that is a problem we must address, but we also have to recognise that there are a lot of violent women. I hear every week from women who say, I grew up with a violent mother. My brother is married to a violent woman. Why are we not addressing that? Why are we not talking about the children in those homes who are living with violence, not just from their father, but their mother as well? And I mean, there are so many issues where we're not allowed to tell the truth, and the rape crisis is just one of them.
Well, you keep at it. There we are. It's good to hear from you, Bettina. That should be there at the Sydney University Liberal Club, September 11. The subject is there a rape crisis on campus?